Alright. Welcome, Lancelot, and welcome, Grey Monad. Thank you so much for stopping by. And we absolutely will be getting started in just a little bit. For now, sit back, relax, and I will see you very, very soon. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just whoa, okay. Yeah, I am way, way above the music, so that's definitely working. And if I blew out your eardrums, then welcome! Welcome to the show! That's how we kick it off! How's it going, everybody? We like to make sure that everyone is nice and deaf before we do anything. I mean, seriously, if I had to sit around and listen to my voice for an hour, I would absolutely lose my mind as well. Or an hour and a half, or 2 hours. Well, today, I actually have a cutoff time for tonight, but we're going to make it something very, very, well, hopefully fun. So let's get over here. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Welcome to episode 6? I'm already losing count and I haven't even made it past 10. I think I labeled this one 5. So, there you go. We're gonna go with 5. Welcome to episode 5, ladies and gentlemen, of the Push Start Podcast. And we have a little... Ooh, actually, let's turn this up. If you ever played Mass Effect, you would know this theme. Getting a little spicy. A little saucy. A little... Do you feel it? Love is in the air, ladies and gentlemen. My love for all of you being here. My love to get to hang out with each and every one of you tonight. This is the romance theme that plays in Mass Effect, for those of you that are wondering why I am being strange about it. But anyway, Grey Monad, thank you so much for stopping by. Lancelot, it's always a pleasure. Lancelot, I still think very fondly back on when we were streaming The Witcher 3, and we just had that beautiful, beautiful glitch with Roach going down the hill on his hind legs, I think it was, and I was absolutely hysterical, and I still think fondly of that, and I'm glad to see that you are still here, Lancelot. Really means a lot. Grey Monad, Arcane Realm, welcome to both of you as well. Arcane Realm actually had, if anybody is into Deathloop, Dishonored, and, well, Arcane Studios, surprise, the Arcane Realm has got you covered, and he actually recently did what I think was one of his top quality videos. I think I saw a little bit of influence there in that editing, I would say, but it was one of, I think, actually one of his best videos yet, talking about what the future could be for Dishonored 3 and for Deathloop as well, because of course I think anything involving Arcane Studios is a little bit still up in the air. We have Blade coming out, but after that, sort of anybody's guess. So go check out Arcane's channel, the Arcane Realm. Definitely worth checking, because that was a very good video. And Arcane does have, I'm not going to spoil the topic of his video, but there is a very interesting way that they could continue the series, is what I will say. A very interesting way. And it does sort of follow some of the trends that we're kind of seeing with some other games, so it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, you know, Dishonored 3 is way down the line, and everyone's gonna say, "Oh, well, such other game did it." If those ideas come to fruition. Anyway, go watch the video. It's a really good video. King Styles, hello, King Styles. You gotta show me how to get some style myself. I could use it. Ye ol' hoodie. It's not really gonna cut it if we're trying to look great. Chris Harris, Holly, that blue number. Thank you so much for being here, sister. Welcome. Chris Harris, always a pleasure. I don't know if I responded back to you about some of the stuff we were talking to on Twitter, so I apologize if I was the one that left you on red there, but I don't forget. I didn't forget. And that was some super interesting stuff, too. It's crazy that all that's going on. Timmer! Wonderful to see you. As always, Timmer. I also saw that somebody, what was it? You like shared some financial numbers, Timmer, online, and then I think somebody else actually sort of added to your document. Lancelot too. I love you too. Very appropriate given we still got the romance theme going. Let me just, it's fading out. It's fading out. But we had that romance theme, so that was really good timing. Thank you, Lancelot. I appreciate it. $2 super chat. Awesome to see you still here. Yeah, no, Timmer, somebody shared... Thank you, Red Wolf Renegade, who loves me more. I love you both equally. I'm not picking sides on this. Thank you so much, Red. I appreciate the $5 super chat. Holly's barfing. I understand. I understand why. Slow Lark, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Appreciate having you here as well. You got your own style and it works. My style is false. Yeah, right now the style is neckbeard. Right now the style is unshaven neckbeard. And my hair is also starting to get a little bit... It's at that stage where it's going to get too long. So, hey, listen, that's a style. Homeless looking is a style. That was a trend probably a couple years back. I don't know if it is anymore. By the gods! Thank you, Lancelot. So, I'm gonna need to set up a goal. Alright. Here, hold on. Let me do something I haven't done before. Thank you, Lancelot. Let me do something I haven't done, before. We're gonna do this, and we're gonna do that, and we'll set it for that. And then we will do, here. Oh! Oh. Oh. You know what? Screw it. It's episode 5. 5 is a nice, clean number. We like 5. We're gonna do something. We're gonna do something here. Hold on. Give me a second. Give me a second. We're gonna... yeah. We'll do... I wish I could do a custom amount. Okay, we'll do that. It's fine. And we will say... boom. Bam. And we will do... give me 1 second, everybody. You're gonna love this. Neckbeard, now you're a real gamer. My style is short, fat, and bald. Hey, listen. Honestly, that's not... it's a lot worse things. Okay. Bam! I'm feeling generous tonight. It's episode 5. Did that work? I don't think it's working. Oh, Kennedy. Sorry guys. I'm trying to set up a thing. Trying to set up a thing, and then we'll get right into... It's not working. This is the most disappointing I've ever seen. What I was trying to do, ladies and gentlemen, was set up a giveaway. I was trying to set up a giveaway. There we go! Alright, it worked! Alright, perfect. Wonderful. Goal created. I'm feeling generous tonight. It's episode 5. I've been having fun. This is genuinely the highlight of my week, is coming in and doing this. It's always... even when I don't want to do it, I still want to do this. You know what I'm saying? So, got a little goal there. And we'll... If we meet that goal, you know what? Who's been looking forward to Kingdom Come Deliverance 2? Scott, we're going to be talking about that in just a little bit, but it's doing really well. 90% on Steam so far. So there you go. All right, let's get into some of our stories, shall we? Thank you all for being here. Let's get into some of our stories. First and foremost, bite-sized bits. Just some short little things that I want to share with you guys that I am excited about. Not much to say on this first one here, which is that Multiverses. Anybody played Multiverses at all? Probably not. I think I even might have talked about this a little bit last week, but it's shutting down after 5 seasons. However, the story got a little bit juicier. I don't know if I brought this up last week or not. The story did get a little bit juicier because there's a lot of people petitioning. They are making comments. Those who bought the Founders Edition of the game. It was like $100 or something for this free-to-play game. It was an astronomical amount, but it gave you a bunch of Gleamium and in-game currency and all this other stuff. And in doing so, now that the game is getting shut down, they'll still have access to the offline portion of the game, but honestly, who really wants to play a game like that offline all the time? Fans are not happy. Fans are really, really not happy, and they're trying to petition to keep the game online. And now... one of the studio directors did come out and he said they were getting really pretty bad threats. So I know that none of you guys in the audience watching right here, right now need to worry about this, but it goes without saying, don't threaten people if something happens that you don't like about a game. That's insane to me. So people were getting more or less violent and sending very hateful words towards the studio, Player First Games, who worked on this title. And it's just a shame that gamers get that way. You know, there's a couple videos I see out there where they're saying, where they are saying that, hey, gamers are ruining games. And in some cases, I do believe it, because when developers have to worry about their own safety and just they're working hard on these games, sometimes they probably don't even want to be doing some of the things, but it's orders coming from top down, like things involving microtransactions. And they're forced to put some of that stuff in, and you put in all that work, all that time, all that effort to get death threats and hate comments, and it's absolutely one of the worst possible feelings I think somebody could have. So nobody in this chat is going to be guilty of that ever, but if you see it, call it out. I think that's important too. Call it out that people are absolutely being ludicrous and insane. And the studio director did come out and explain, hey, you guys need to absolutely knock this off. This is out of control and not fair whatsoever. And calm yourself. So it was nice to see. I do really appreciate when sort of a studio head comes out and talks about some of that stuff. So be nice to developers, even if there's poor decisions that are going around. Be nice to developers. Chances are it's really not their fault. Avowed also has some news, which is good and bad, I guess. Good news is that Avowed is going to be playable at 60 frames per second. Hooray! On modern hardware. Honestly, and I'm going to do just a little bit of... I'm just going to do a little bit of this here. It is a beautiful looking game. Avowed looks absolutely gorgeous, I have to say. But what I will also say is the fact that this game was not going to release at 60 frames a second on the Xbox Series X is absolutely and unequivocally just insane to me. Chris Harris, thank you so much. $20. And puts us one step closer to giving away a copy of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Which can be any amount. It doesn't matter how much. But thank you so much, Chris. That's very generous. I couldn't imagine being the type of person to threaten someone over entertainment. It's insane. It is absolutely crazy that anybody would ever consider threatening because your game... Like, imagine going to a movie and the movie is not what you've already paid... The interesting thing is, you go to a movie, you pay for the ticket, you can't get your money back. You can't return it the way you can for a video game. Now, a video game is much more money than a movie ticket, but imagine going in and seeing a movie. You see Deadpool and Wolverine, and you're writing just hate speech to Ryan Reynolds, and you're just demeaning him on social media because you're like, F this movie, screw what you did to Wolverine, he's a piece of garbage, and you disrespected Deadpool, and this was a horrible conclusion, and I'm like, it's absolutely ludicrous. Thank you, Lancelot, for the $5. No comment either. Thank you. I appreciate that. 2 steps. We're 2 out of 5. Oh, wait. Why didn't it say 2 out of 5? Does your thing say 2 out of 5? If we hit 4 out of 5, it counts. That should have been 2. I don't know why that wasn't 2. I don't know why that wasn't 2. So there you go. Red, do you prefer 30? That's the other thing too. Some people do prefer 30 FPS. So Avowed, because of the delay, it is now coming out at 60 frames per second, which is really, really great to see. And it is really strange to me. If you're playing on the Series S, you're not going to be getting that frame rate. Holly, you prefer 30 frames a second as well. Why? Because it's smoother? Because you don't have the fluctuations in your frame rate? Because if you're playing at 60 and then suddenly it drops down to 40 and then it goes back to 60 and then you're at 50 and then 59 and then 30, that is a lot and that can get really, really jarring. So I do understand that because my brain moves more slowly than regular humans. That's right. I forgot you weren't a person, Red. You're not most humans. That much we know for certain. It's more pleasing in my eyes. Okay, fair enough. I respect it. I respect it a lot. And so, look, you will have the option. Thankfully, if you're playing Avowed, you will have the option. You're not real. Maybe it's my old eyes, but I could not care less about 60 frames per second. I'd take a prettier game over a smoother one any day. I am sort of on the same boat as well. I would rather the game look visually better than it play at 60 frames per second. It depends on the discrepancy between the quality, right? If you are losing, sort of the distant terrain that you're usually, especially in an action game, right? Like Avowed, I feel like, Avowed is the type of game, because it's a fantasy, you're going around, you're exploring, you're always going to want to be looking out in the distance at whatever is off in the horizon. But if you're playing, like, I don't know, a Call of Duty, right? Maybe that's not the best example because it's a first-person shooter, so you want the higher frames per second. But if you're doing, you get what I'm saying, where there's a lot of action going on, maybe a Dark Souls might be, or a Elden Ring might be a better example. If you're doing that, you're really looking at just what's right in front of you. So if the distant terrain doesn't look as good, who really cares? Who really cares? 2025 Series 5 cards are out, and the biggest complaint of every game in the last 5 years is that has released. That is the strangest part to me too, is this hardware. It really does surprise me that this hardware is not capable of handling 60 frames per second, and that you need to make that compromise to begin with. And I will say, because that was the whole thing behind this console generation. When this console generation came out, the whole thing was, we're going to get consistent 60 frames per second. Now, I don't know if that's because all of these games are targeting 4K, because honestly, 1080p 60 FPS would be my preference if that was how I could go about it. So if all these games are trying to target 60 FPS 4K, of course that's with upscaling, then I don't know. It shouldn't be a compromise in this day and age. And with the next generation of consoles, cannot have that anymore. This cannot be the trade-off anymore at all. But thankfully, Avowed is going to be getting it, so looks good. Also, Carrie Patel, the game director, said expect it to release with some jank too, and that one is a bit worrisome in my opinion. Understandable, because it's an semi-open world RPG, right? So, and any game is going to release with some jank, but when the game director is telling you, hey, just there's going to be some, I hope that is her overplaying what it will be. You know, she just said there's going to be some jank, so maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. So there you go. All right, next story here. So it only plays at 60 FPS 20% of the time. She said it can run at up to 60 frames per second. So that doesn't mean, that's the other part of it too, is it doesn't mean it's going to be a stable 60 FPS either, which is honestly one of the big concerning parts. We'll get plenty of Digital Foundry videos that are going to really be tearing into that though. So we'll see before the game comes out, because Digital Foundry always gets early access. This one is a super quick little story here. Steam is adding an update for transparency purposes. I think this is a wonderful update that they're doing. And if a game does not get updated, that's in early access for a period of 4 months, I want to say. Or maybe it was a year or longer. Steam early access warning. Let's pull this one. Oh, if a game has not been updated for 12 months, there is going to be a warning that pops up on this around the game that says, "Hey, this game has not been updated. Just so you know." I think that's a phenomenal quality of life update to the game, or to Steam. I'm happy to see that they're trying to take those consumer-friendly habits. Now, the only thing, Steam, that I need you to get on top of is to offer some actual cash back the way Epic Game Store does. Because I gotta say, I don't want your stupid stickers in the Steam shop. I don't care. Do you see this? Listen, Valve. I don't care about your backgrounds. Epic Games gives cash back. It's wonderful. I actually do support the Epic Game Store for that reason. I think it's wonderful. Turn God down to 30. Yeah, make sure make sure that you flip God down to 30 frames per second. He's moving too quickly. Xbox has a reward system where you get money back for buying stuff. They do. It's a wonderful reward system too. And they have it if you use. I'm a firm believer of Microsoft Edge, because I get reward points just for searching on the internet. And as someone who makes YouTube content, that's wonderful. So I really actually do like Xbox's reward system too. But honestly, what I will say is I like Epic's a little bit better, because Epic just says, here's your cash back. And you just see money in your account instead of, here's your points that you then take your points to go over here to redeem for different things. Just give me the cash. Just give it me. I want to see the money. Show me the money. Is anyone part of that Steam action lawsuit? I didn't know that there was a Steam class action lawsuit, Chris. I'm assuming you're part of it? Or you just know about it? I didn't even know that there was one. But hey, I'll take my $5 that probably everybody who's involved is going to get out of that. $5 is $5. So there you go. So that was a quick little thing. Good on you, Valve. I'm happy to see you continue to push consumer-friendly activities, especially if we're going to see things like the Steam console that is rumored to be coming on its way. That Steam console is about to boost, especially because of rumors for that Steam console. Glad to see that they are trying to take consumer-friendly approaches. If they're going to be in the face of more gamers, right? We want to make sure that that is the case. And our last one here, last little bite-sized story before we get into the real meat and potatoes of today's show. Fallout New Vegas' lead writer is back at Obsidian. After being away for some time, he has returned. And of course, this is exciting just because writing is a big issue in 2024 and in 2025. I think we could all agree that writing and the quality of writing is a big mixed bag. And this isn't exclusive to games. This isn't exclusive to video games at all. In TV shows, if you've seen what they've done to the Witcher TV show, if you've seen what they've done with the Lord of the Rings TV show, terrible, disgusting, awful. I hate it. They're not fun to watch. So writing has been a quality. If you've seen what they've done to Dragon Age the Veilguard, and then of course, now with AI coming in, depending on how heavily they're leaning on AI can't write good stories. I'm sorry, it literally can't. It can help, but it can't. Holly, you're entitled to your own opinion, but you're wrong. I was not a fan. I gave up after a couple of... Maybe that was the problem. I gave up very quickly on that show, but it just did not land at all for me. At all. At all. Or the Halo TV show, right? That one too. I don't see anyone talking about the Halo TV show. The show sucks. I'm leaving. Good! Get out of here! No, I'm just kidding. Please stay. I don't want any Lord Rings of Power lovers in my chat. So anyway, the Obsidian Entertainment is getting... I'm sorry, I do struggle sometimes to be like, is something coming in the chat? Make sure I'm talking to you guys. So yeah, Obsidian is getting its lead writer back. They're not working on Fallout New Vegas 2, however, that was explicitly stated. So do not fret, or don't get too excited, rather. Don't fret if you're a fan of Obsidian's current work, I suppose, which a lot of people are. There's a big audience that are growing around, whether it's The Outer Worlds. Now, soon we're going to see how Avowed comes out, which is out in just a week, I believe. Next week we'll have it. So, a lot of fans are now rallying behind that. And honestly, I don't know if I even want to see Obsidian do a Fallout New Vegas 2, for the sole reason that I like that they're doing their own projects. I really like that they're doing their own projects, and I want to see them continue to do that. I don't want to see... The thing that Obsidian has that most other studios are getting less and less of these days is just creative freedom. And the fact that they're allowed to work on The Outer Worlds 2, the fact that they're allowed to do Avowed, which is, of course, Pillars of Eternity universe, the fact that they're allowed to do Grounded and Pentiment and all these other projects, they have creative freedom to embrace all of these things. And honestly, I wouldn't want to see Obsidian get shoehorned into, you need to make this game. Like, nope. Xbox comes in and Phil Spencer's standing over them and says, hey, buddy, so we're gonna need you to make a Fallout New Vegas 2. And Obsidian sort of looks at it and goes, but we don't wanna. I think, and Phil Spencer... Yeah, but we're gonna need a New Vegas 2. Right? I don't want to see that. That would suck. Have I played Wasteland 3? I've started Wasteland 3. I got past the first fight in Wasteland 3. So there you go. I'm not opposed to trying out Wasteland 3, though. I think it looks like a very, very cool game that I am interested to try. Problem with doing a New Vegas 2 is you've already been there. It would be hard to change the landscape. That is true. You're not really changing the desert that much. I think arguably what they would do is probably... It wouldn't be a New Vegas 2, I think is ultimately what it comes down to. When people refer to Fallout New Vegas 2, I think really what they're saying is we want an Obsidian Fallout game. And then would not be New Vegas 2, but we would see another title that takes place in the West Coast from Obsidian. Because, of course, we need to keep it away from, we can't have Obsidian touching the East Coast. Did I say East Coast? Obsidian would go on the West Coast. Can't have Obsidian touching the East Coast. That's illegal. All right. Also, today's video, as always, sponsored by Plain White Mug. Coming soon to a store near you. Probably not. Okay, next up. So we're gonna jump. That was it for bite-sized stories that I really had for all of us today. Do want to jump into sort of our next topic, which is going to be not that. I gotta change what our next topic is. There we go. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has had massive amounts of success. The game has sold 1 million copies in just one day. And that is wonderful for this studio. A studio that is incredibly dedicated to the projects that they're working on. A studio that has a lot of passion for the environment and the world that they are building. And I love Warhorse Studios. And they're not only that, but they're setting a lot of, I'm not going to say standards, but they're setting a lot of prerequisites in other places. By that, I mean, I just saw on Twitter earlier today that they don't have like shader compiling. They didn't focus on ray tracing. The performance is steady. So all of the technical side of things that went on with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, all of that is just beautiful as well. Because they knew what they had to do. They made the game, and of course it's running in CryEngine, which I always thought was an underutilized engine personally. I think there's a lot of potential with CryEngine. We do have Crysis 4 that's going to come eventually, and we'll see what that team, if that's even still happening. I don't know. It's been a while since we got that announcement, but Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Some things about it. I checked this afternoon. This was around like 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time today. It was the 6th top game on Steam. It was behind things like Marvel Rivals, Dota 2, CSGO, and some of those other frequent heavy hitters that are just always at the top. Which for a small little game, I say small, it's a huge game, but from a much smaller studio. And on top of that, from a game that is not... Their hard pitch is that it's not magic, it's not fantasy, it's a realistic, takes place in the real world, historical fictional title that has incredibly complicated gameplay elements. Like, you need to worry about your bathing, your sleeping, your eating. You need to worry about the clothes you're wearing. If you're too stinky, the enemies will smell you, right? You have to sharpen your weapons. You have to go to the blacksmith. There's a manual mini game for everything, whether you're doing sort of herbology, where you're sort of making herbal remedies, or if you're going to the blacksmith, you need to actually sharpen your own sword, and there's like a little thing for that. So all of these highly crazy technical elements in this game, that's a turnoff for a lot of people. It's not a game that's admittedly for everyone, and yet sold over 1 million copies in just one day. 6th top most played game on Steam. 2 o'clock this afternoon, it hit an all-time peak. Today it hit a new peak amount of players of 183,646 concurrent players. Which, again, for a game that is this much of a niche, that's huge. That is massive. I think it's hit 170. There you go, 170K. And that's the other thing too, right? That's just Steam. 170,000 concurrent players on Steam, and it's not had its first weekend of players jumping into the game yet. That is incredible. For a title that is this hyper-specific, which is going to tie into our next story, which is, of course, the headline story for today's episode. 180,000! There you go! And I'm not yet one of them, because I still need to play the first one, which I very much want to do. And arguably the success that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is having gets me more eager to jump into Kingdom Come Deliverance 1. So that I can experience the second one the proper way. But 180,000 concurrent players just on Steam. So you can see how monumental of a success this is for Warhorse. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is to Warhorse what Baldur's Gate 3 is to Larian Studios. It is. It's the same thing. And arguably, I'm going to be completely honest, I think that even though Baldur's Gate 3, top-down isometric fantasy RPG, the isometric part and the turn-based might be a turn-off for a lot of players, I think it's arguably more impressive what Kingdom Come Deliverance was able to do. Because here, not only do you have a pretty nuanced and complicated combat system that is, you know, you see elements of like chivalry or For Honor in there, right? The way they do their combat system. It's a really good combat system in my opinion. Not only do they have that, they have all of these other hyper-specific niche elements in the game that is just absolutely astronomical. So the fact that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and then additionally you have the realistic historical setting, which the Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 at least did a very good job of making sure that you sort of knew what was going on in the world, so that you were aware of, hey, this is the historical context, like you do have this, you know, religious schism that's going on, and you have like, I think there's some of the lore entries is explaining how there were 3 different popes at the same time, because, and so you have all this really heavy lore and history that goes into it that does add to your experience of the game if you know it, and yet still it was able to capture the amount of players that it is. And the praise that it is, because it's also on Steam sitting at an 89.93 or 89.96. It's at 90%. We'll round up. We'll give Kingdom Come Deliverance and Warhorse Studios the benefit of the doubt. 90% positive reviews on top of all of that. And I think the game is also $60. They didn't go for that $70 price point. So, honestly, I have half a mind to buy a copy of it just for that reason. Because the title is more ambitious than a lot of AAA titles because of the risk that it took. More polished than a lot of modern AAA titles released. Has the, as far as I've seen, again, I've stayed away from reviews, but has the quality of writing that you want to see, that these AAA studios should be able to hire the better writers, but they don't. But it has the quality writing, has the gameplay, has the polish, has the technical finesse. Just take a look. Peak is 185,000 with 130 playing right now. Incredible numbers. It is. And they don't have the budget, right? You know, the Kingdom Come Deliverance. The other thing, too, is Larian, if we're going to compare them to Larian as far as success and, like, sort of putting the studio's name on the map, Larian had the backing of Wizards of the Coast, which, for those of you who don't know, Wizards of the Coast is Hasbro money. Think about that for a second. Wizards of the Coast had Hasbro, or Larian Studios had Hasbro money to play around with when they were marketing this game. Kingdom Come Deliverance, small little studio out of Poland. I think they're in Poland. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that. How much of that actually went to Larian? It's a really good question. I would assume, listen, there was a lot, I do remember there was a lot of marketing for Baldur's Gate. Infinitely more than what we saw for Kingdom Come Deliverance. All that I've heard about Deliverance over the past few years is that making me question why people weren't jumping all over Stalker for the same reasons. I understand it has way less systems. That's a really good question, actually. I think for most people, fantasy is just, even though it's not fantasy. Prague. Thank you. Yes, Prague. I don't know why I said I got the P right. That was a big mishap on my end. Sorry, Warhorse. I should have known that. Prague. Yes, you are correct. Prague. I think as far as what you're saying, it's medieval. And a lot of people gravitate more towards medieval titles or things that feel like fantasy titles, right? I think post-apocalyptic and just shooters in general are a much smaller audience. That's why Elder Scrolls is, realistically speaking, more popular than Fallout is. That's why Elder Scrolls was probably always going to be more popular than Starfield was going to be. I think it's just I really do believe it comes down to the genre and what genre people are comfortable with and what they like. So there you go. Stalker also... the other thing about Stalker 2 is Stalker... I think a lot of people were thinking about it in such a way where... How do I want to phrase this? A lot of people, I think, looked at Stalker and it got publicity because of everything that was going around in Poland at the time. In Poland. Jesus Christ. Everything that was going on at the time, it got a lot of attention for that, but I think a lot of people also got scared of the game for that reason too. As far as the polish, as far as Ukraine. Thank you. I'm sorry. My brain is absolute. Everything is Poland now, ladies and gentlemen. Everything is Poland. My brain is fried tonight. I'm doing my best. Nobody clipped that. To Ukraine. Thank you. And for what it's worth, too, when I was thinking of where Warhorse Studios was located, I also was thinking Ukraine and I just said Poland. So there you go. You gotta laugh at these things. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Solark. You got it. You understand. We're taking this episode down. This one's coming out. We're taking this one down after the fact. No, so Ukraine. Thank you. Sorry, my brain is actually fried. Ukraine. Everything that was going on in Ukraine with... Take a step back. Breathe for a second. People saw that with Stalker 2, but it still made them nervous about the quality of the product that was going to come out. If that makes any sense. I do think that maybe weighed on some people's purchasing decisions there. I've tried playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I'm really interested, but the horror stories I hear make me scared. I don't know what horror stories you've heard. Well, what are some of them? Kingdom Come Deliverance fighting mechanic turns me off. Stalker 2 was my first Stalker game. Yeah, it's not fun no more. Well, after 120 hours, honestly, I think you got your money's worth for what it's worth. I think you got your money's worth. That's pretty damn good. Still haven't finished Stalker. It's hard to put down because of it. Yeah, it is. There's a lot of you're getting a lot of bang for your buck with either of these games, but the combat system's not going to be for everybody. The thing about Kingdom Come Deliverance's combat system is that when you get into it, you are just a peasant. Like, you genuinely start the game as a peasant, and if you see, you got your baby's first sword, and then you have a big chunky guy wearing full plate armor coming up to you, you're not beating him. You're just not. You as Henry, both as the player and Henry in the game, have no idea. You can swing the sword, doesn't mean you're actually good at it. So you see two guys coming at you, you run. It is that type of game for sure. And that's not for everybody. That's not for everybody at all. Holly, I love this show. I love you, sister. For those of you who don't understand that joke, probably worthwhile to explain. No, we're not actually, but we're Steam family. So Holly's my sister. We share our Steam libraries, which is a really cool feature of Steam as well that I love about it. So anyway, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, congratulations to the Prague-based studio for all of the success that they're having. I look forward to seeing more. I'm looking forward to seeing what the weekend numbers are going to be, Slowlark, as you pointed out. That's a super exciting thing to have right there. And it's just incredible that it's doing these numbers for such a niche game, which leads us into what EA has completely and utterly lost sight of entirely. And they've lost their goddamn minds. Andrew Wilson. And I have to, there's a part of my brain that just needs to think that the crap that he is saying, he doesn't believe. I need to believe that he doesn't believe it. That's the only thing that can make sense to me. That this is a PR play, and that he needs to impress shareholders, and these shareholders have no idea what the F he's saying. But I also know that is not true. And I know that he's genuinely going down this warpath of we need more live service games. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, EA's CEO mentioned that Veilguard was a failure. Not because the game was bad. No, let's get nice and close here. Let's bring it back to the full cam. Not because the game was bad. That's stupid. That's a stupid thought, and you're dumb for having thought it. Like, who do you think you are? Get that. You think it's because the game was... No. Get that out of your head. That's not the reason. The reason is because it did not have enough shared world features. Which also hints at live service. Which, believe it or not, was the direction that the game pivoted away from. So I don't know if Andrew Wilson is sitting there kicking himself in the foot, in the back, because he's like, man, I let BioWare stray away from those dang live service elements, and now I'm regretting it. He can't be that dense, can he? And you look at the success, again, to tie it back into, you look at the success of a title like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which doesn't have shared world elements. It wasn't priced $70. It's an incredibly niche and specific game for an audience that, quite frankly, I'm amazed as many people are trying it out as they are. And that game found success. Now, 1 million copies sold in a day for EA is still not going to be enough. That's the other problem too, right? It's just the expectations being completely and utterly in the wrong place. Completely and utterly in the wrong place. But comparatively, EA still would not be happy, even if the game was a financial, even if it made money. They're still going to find something to complain about. And apparently the game was bad because... There you go. He said specifically, I'm looking at an article here coming from Forbes. He said specifically, quote, in order to break out beyond the core audience, right? And we've said multiple times on this show, we've said on the Renegade Realm podcast, which is also in Poland. It's a Poland-based podcast. The Renegade Realm podcast, we've talked multiple times about how appealing to more players does not make a better game. The reason why his title like Baldur's Gate 3 does as well as it does is because it starts with it knows its audience, and it says, this is the audience we're going after. We're not trying to break out of the core audience. We're trying to make this. And then it appeals to that core audience, and then that core audience goes off and tells everybody how amazing this game is. And then little Jimmy over there goes, yeah, Kingdom Come Deliverance does sound like a pretty cool game. I would consider trying. It's not really up my alley, but I would consider it. And then he considers it, and then he goes off to his friend Joshua, and Joshua, he says, look, I wasn't up my alley, but I tried it out and I loved it. And then Joshua's like, if you didn't think it was for you, maybe I would. And then word of mouth hits, and then the internet, of course, strikes. And then it gets to the rest of players, right? The big thing here, I'm saying it's word of mouth, but a lot of it is just what happens on the internet, right? Word of mouth, people on social media, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all these other platforms. I was going to say TikTok, but not anymore in the US at least. So they make a game and then they look inward and that helps it to grow outward. Andrew Wilson immediately off the bat saying, we need to break beyond the core audience, is one of the most absolutely and utterly tone-deaf things I think he can possibly say. And this is a man who has a reputation for saying tone-deaf things, but this really does sort of sit up there as one of the biggest. Just absolutely no amount of self-awareness to the situation at all. He continues saying, games need to directly connect to the evolving demands of players. We demand it! Who increasingly seek shared world features and deeper engagement, alongside high-quality narratives in this beloved category. Deeper engagement. You know what gives us engagement, Andrew Wilson? Making a good game that targets a specific audience. I don't know. Doesn't seem like rocket science to me. Seems pretty straightforward. But apparently we're demanding shared world features. And there's creative ways to do shared world features too, right? If we want to kind of take some of the satire back a little bit, there are creative ways to do shared world features. I think, for example, what Hideo Kojima did with Death Stranding was a pretty cool way to do it, where everybody's working together and you put resources towards making that bridge to help you progress, towards making that watchtower, whatever. I personally have not played Death Stranding myself, so I don't know the types of things you could collaborate on building. But then it's there for everybody who's making that journey. I think that's a really creative way to do a shared world. You could have titles such as, you know, look, as many examples. He wants to look at shared world experiences. Okay, great. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, I think, is a prime example. I don't know how you can make comments such as this when you do have folks who are making these live service titles and are failing at them and in the midst of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League going completely and utterly down the tube, in the wake of multiverses shutting down after 5 seasons. Yeah, you have Marvel Rivals in there, but all of these, Concord from Sony, which was meant to be a narrative shared experience because they were going to release their things periodically. In the wake of all of that, Andrew Wilson's takeaway is, you could see how it just doesn't make any sense to me. It makes absolutely no sense. Lotus is free. Thank you. $10. 2 more to go. Actually, 1 more, because it was Lancelot's did not go through. Lancelot's didn't go through. I might have I didn't mean to do this. I genuinely did not mean to do this, but I did. I maybe set the minimum to $5. I wanted to be every chat. So we're really at 4 out of 5. Or yeah, we're at 4 out of 5 right now. So 1 more, and then I absolutely will on Steam. Steam code giveaway for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Want to share that with one of you guys. Elden Ring is one of the few live services I've... There! Another wonderful example, actually, Chris. Phenomenal example. Elden Ring's shared world component and that multiplayer. Like, but at the end of the day, that is, to its core... Again, that is a game that went hyper-focused on what it wanted to be. And that, of course, is the difficulty. That, of course, is the challenge that it brings. That's the Souls-like experience that you get from a From Software title. Of course, made in Poland, as we all know. Yeah, so I want to just quickly look through this article, see if there's anything else. Forbes does bring up that it reminds a little bit of what Warner Brothers said last year, where they're pushing ahead with more live service games, even though you had Hogwarts Legacy, which sold 20 million copies and was the best-selling game of the year. And yet Warner Brothers sat down and said, hey, man, Hogwarts Legacy did great. Make another live service game. Just, I'm curious as to where these ideas come from. And it makes me genuinely worried for Mass Effect 4. Because, of course, that's a title that now BioWare is cut down to under 100 employees. This is something that we talked about on the Renegade Realm podcast. BioWare is now down to under 100 employees. Now, the whole writing team was pretty much fired. Some people will say that... Also, Lotus! Hi, Lotus! I didn't say hi! Welcome! Welcome to the show! Thank you for stopping by. That was incredibly inconsiderate of me. Hi, hello. Thank you for being here. When a single-player game, the first thing I do is shut off the live service. They made a game that was hyper-fixated on a very niche customer base while ignoring the overwhelming rest of the customer. Yeah. Absolutely. What is it? Yeah, so it makes me a lot more worried for Mass Effect 4 and the future of that game, because BioWare was cut down to under 100 employees. Is this going to be an instance where EA steps in and says, hey, you know, we were going to give you creative freedom, BioWare, but actually, no, and now we want you to implement that you need to have a co-op part to it. It needs to be shared world, and it needs to be live service, so we're going to throw in the multiplayer aspect of it. And is that really going to be what throws BioWare into the can? Just shut them down completely after Mass Effect. They're certainly scaled down into a team size where that is a really scary possibility. The other thing I will say, the contrary to that, is some of the best games ever made, such as a Skyrim, got made with teams of about 100 people. So yes, like we see all this rhetoric and these comments about making teams more agile and more flexible and sort of trying to trim the fat down for that middle management. Maybe this is an example where that is actually the case. And if so, that's absolutely wonderful. That's absolutely delightful. If not, again, what are we going to do? And then you also have something like Battlefield. The next Battlefield title, they actually released a small teaser for it recently. I'm not excited after seeing the teaser. It's a teaser, and it's very easy to make a game like Battlefield look good. But how heavy is EA going to go on the live service elements for Battlefield? Because of course, one interesting thing to note is that 74% of EA's revenue does come from live service games. Just think about it, 74% of their revenue came because they are monetizing their games and people are spending it on things like microtransactions, which is insane to me. It's a reason why I don't support microtransactions, even in free-to-play games. Usually, actually, I'll take that a step back. Usually it depends on the pricing. If it is free to play, something like Multiverses got screwed because the prices were just egregious. Something like Marvel Rivals, the prices in Marvel Rivals are absolutely out of control, in my opinion. People justify it because it's free to play. That's fine. You could write it anyway till Sunday, but it incentivizes this type of behavior, and that is part of the reason why I have a very hard time supporting anything microtransaction wise. But a lot of it comes from things like FIFA, a lot of it comes from things like Madden and titles of that nature. How can EA push that into all of their other games? We really did see that with the last Battlefield entry. Are they going to try to continue to do that with this next installment? Who's to say? Hopefully not. But it does genuinely get me worried for the future of BioWare, especially, and where that's going to land. Chris, thank you. I've missed a few, so here's a little extra. You don't need to do that, but I really appreciate it. Also, it isn't free to play if you have to pay for certain features. That's the thing about these games. And that does the 4 out of 5. I'm going to end the goal here. I am going to end the goal here because that, by all accounts, was the 5th one. I can't end it for some reason. I don't know how to end it. So there you go. It's going to stay, but yes, we will be sending a giveaway. Let's see. I think I could set that up right now, actually. And there's not too many of you here tonight, which means that you have a very good chance of earning the game, of earning it for yourself. So that's super fun. Let me get this set up. We'll do it this way. Take your name out of a giveaway. Chris, you always say that. Are you sure? We're going to do it the way that we've done it before in the past, which is to say there is a giveaway feature somewhere that I will find. Lotus! Lotus, thank you so much. It's ended. There we go. Doubly hit the goal now. Doubly hit the goal. Thank you so much, all of you guys, for your support. And obviously, all of this is going right back to you guys, too. Like, that's always my thing. I'm not trying to make, money off of this, really. My goal is always, always, always to... to make sure that I need a production assistant. I do, yeah. Well, you know what would help is a co-host. There we go. I found it. All right, I found it. All right. Let's get this going. Profile settings. Pick winner. Prize assigned. Settings. Back. Add giveaway. Custom. Name. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 code. You know what? We'll open it up to all platforms because there's not a lot of you here tonight. So we're going to open it up to all platforms. Confirm. Prize. Code for KCD2 on your platform. All right, we do need a production assistant. Yes, 1000%. All right, then that will be open for... Perfect. All right, I can't do it. If you want the code, just do... Oh, that's why I had to do that one. Okay, I got this now. Bam! All right, so I think if you do exclamation mark gift. There we go. Perfect. Exclamation mark gift, and then you will be entered for a copy of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 on your platform of choice. And if it doesn't work, there we go. It is working. Arcane Realm, congratulations. You're entered. Lotus entered as well. Holly as well. And Slow Lark. You're going to have really good odds. You are going to have very, very good odds tonight of getting this. So, thank you. It's my way of saying thank you guys all for being here. Chris, you can enter. I know that you have an incredibly benevolent heart, and your generosity is very appreciated. But listen, if you're interested, I encourage you to enter for yourself. King Styles, yes! Try your hand at it. The odds are in your favor tonight. The odds are in your favor tonight. All right, so we're going to close that out at the end of the show. So do stick around. But for now, we're just going to get into some other discussions for the day. So first and foremost, I don't have too many things in other news. The one thing I did want to just talk about, other news, for those of you who maybe haven't been a part of the show for too long, it's an opportunity for me to talk about things that aren't gaming, get into some personal talk, and of course, get into some personal talk with you guys and get to know about you guys a little bit better too. And the thing that I just wanted to share was I finally finished. I have this box set of Brandon Sanderson's, the Stormlight Archive, and you could see by the wear and tear there on the first book and the pristine condition of the second one that I have been reading. And I finally finished. It's like 1,250 pages or something, but I finally finished The Way of Kings. And I have to say, I don't entirely get all of the praise. I get a lot of the praise, but I don't get all of it. it was a really, really good read, a very dense read, as you can see, incredibly so. And Brandon Sanderson does have an incredible talent for world building. This is arguably one of the most believable worlds that I have had the luxury of diving into since what is it? Elder Scrolls, actually. One of the most believable, interesting worlds since Elder Scrolls, in my opinion. Some people would say something like Elden Ring, and I completely get that. But that was this for me. And the characters all start off as complete walking cliches, every single one of them. There were a lot of really predictable. So I have a friend of mine who is obsessed with this series. He actually got multiple tattoos on his body inspired by this series. He loves it that much. And I was messaging him as I was going through. And one of the biggest plot... I predicted from about... here. This is page 765 out of 1250. I predicted, I think, the biggest plot twist in the entire book. I was right. I actually got it. So there you go. I am very excited to read more about it, but to get into the next one. It's absolutely a world that I'm invested in. It's characters that I'm invested in. Ones that I didn't like really grew on me. Like, the main character of the stories is basically Brandon Sanderson, Jesus. Most series have their own version of, like, a god or a Jesus-like figure. In this case, Brandon Sanderson, Jesus, is a character named Kaladin. He's sort of the main character of all of this. I did not like him at all at first because he's supposed to be this really rugged soldier that's super wise and experienced, and he's commanded troops, and he's like 20 years old. And anytime you have a character that just seems too young for the level of experience that you're pitching, it's always sort of like a bit of a turnoff for me. As far as like just getting invested in it. But he really did grow on me as a character, and I think interestingly enough, time in that book, actually, like, if you're 20, you're really more like 24 or something like that. Based on the way that their calendar works. Some big, really big fan broke that down. Have I read the Exodus? No, I have not read the Exodus audiobook. I was waiting until I finished that. And now I have an easier sci-fi read that I'm doing next called Forward as Always, which is by one of my favorite TV show animators, Olin Rogers. He wrote a book. It's not really that good of a book. However, if you're a fan of Olin Rogers, then you are, I like the book because reading it, I could picture how he would animate all of these things on screen. So I've been doing Forward as Always, and it's a great time for me to pick up. Now that I'm done with that, I need a break from Sanderson and those insanely long novels. So it's actually a perfect time to jump into it. Actually started Aragon author came up, and it reminded me how much that series growing up. Gotta reread it. Aragon, I forget. That was really like a kid's series though, right? I mean, it could be like Harry Potter's technically a kid's series too, but you could be an adult and enjoy it. I just feel like I remember the writing style of Aragon was very, very young. And more of a young adult series. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I feel like the writing style was really, really young. And I have trouble, like, Forward as Always, the book I was just talking about, is difficult for me because it's just, it reads very young. And I want to feel smart. I want to feel smart. That's why I read Tolkien. Because he makes me feel smart when I read it. Alright. So, anyway, definitely check out. I would still highly recommend. I've heard a lot of people think that the second is their favorite in the series. And that's real. And, like, Sanderson really starts to find his stride as you get deeper into this series. So, he was 18 when he wrote those Aragon books. Well, that would make sense then. I didn't actually know that he was 18 when he wrote them. That's really impressive, actually. Really impressive, then. It's the Archimedes engine. Man, I really butchered that. Archimedes. Super impressive. Super is my word. I always go to super. Y'all need to read One Piece. The hype is real. I've been watching. I started the Influent. Welcome to the show, by the way. We did hit a donation super chat goal. So Influent, if you use !gift, if you're interested, you can be entered to win a raffle, a giveaway for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 that we're going to give away tonight. And it's a very small. There's only 5 entries. There's only 5 entries in it. So you have a really good chance of winning. Really good chance of winning. !gift if you want to enter that. We're going to do that in just a little bit. But, yes. So, really glad. Oh, the other thing, too, is I haven't watched it yet, but I'm really excited. I think, probably not next week, but maybe in about 2 weeks, in other news, if you guys, we could sort of start like a little bit of a book club and a TV club here. That's why I wanted to do this segment. One, it was for the people who want to hang out, who want to just chat and talk. That was really the intention of this, to sort of to break down that barrier. My goal with YouTube has always been, I want to break down the barrier of, hey, I'm just some dude on the other side of the screen as much as possible. But one thing we could sort of do is like a TV show, like a watching club or a book club, and then come back next week and talk about some of this stuff, if you're interested, of course. The next thing for me, and it'll probably, again, I probably won't finish it by next week, but the following one, I've really am excited to see the new season of Invincible, which just came out recently. So that is 100% on. I still have to finish Penguin as well. I've started Penguin. I haven't finished it, but in the new season of the new season of Invincible is out, and I'm really excited to jump into that. I don't know if they're doing episodic, like weekly releases, or if they just did the whole season at once. But it's a series that I really, really love. Kirkbride does a phenomenal job with it, and I can't wait to see where it goes. So I'll be watching that if you want to talk about that either next week or the following one. And if you have any suggestions as well, now's the time to throw it out. Of course, I'm going to take a look, Chris, that the audiobook, I have it. I bought it. I have it on Audible, so I'll be checking that out. Great thing to turn on next week as I sort of am commuting into work. Spy shows. Night Agent is awesome. They just came out. What is that on? What is that on? Oh, also, for those of you who like indie games, last thing before we finally do the raffle, the giveaway, last thing is, for those of you who really like indie games, Darkest Dungeon 2. I talked about this on the Renegade Realm podcast, Tuesdays, 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check it out. Talked about this on the Renegade Realm podcast, but Darkest Dungeon 2, one of my favorite indie games, Netflix. I cannot check it out then. I don't have Netflix, unfortunately. Maybe I'll subscribe to Netflix eventually if I cancel some other subscription. I don't have Apple TV, Holly. I've really wanted to watch Mythic Quest. but I don't have Apple TV, unfortunately. Sad. Share with me, sister. Send the show. Come on. Your family. Darkest Dungeon 2, one of my favorite indie games. They have Red Hook Studios, rather, is one of my favorite indie studios. They've just released a new update for this game. If you like really difficult tabletop games, highly recommend that you check out Darkest Dungeon 2, because there's basically 2 games in one for Darkest Dungeon. And this was part of a free update that they just released. There's a new mode called Kingdoms. I'm not going to dive into it now because I'll probably bore the crap out of the rest of you that are here. But what I will say is you basically have, for the price of one, you get 2 games inside this one game. They have similar mechanics, because of course it's still about like riding your carriage around and going from point to point and traveling between regions. All that is still there. But this new mode, you're trying to defend sort of this grid map from incursions of beastmen that are attacking all the different points. And you're individually leveling up your heroes. You're moving your heroes around the map. You're moving yourself around the map. You're managing fatigue and stress of all your heroes. You're upgrading all the different inns that are scattered around individually and trying to strategically decide which one you go to in order to get benefits, because one inn you might upgrade to upgrade your heroes. and you really invest in the blacksmith. The other inn you might upgrade so that you have great items that are available in the shop. But you can only do one at each location. So you have to choose where you're going to go. You have that whole mode called Kingdoms, and you also have the main story-based mode called Confessions. Absolutely incredible experience. 2 games for the price of 1. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Highly recommend that you check out Darkest Dungeon 2 if you like hard tabletop games, because that new mode is worth the price of admission alone. And arguably, I think I might like it more than the main game mode in some ways. So there you go. All right, last chance. I'm going to give it 15 more seconds before we close out this giveaway. I want to say thank you again before we do for all the very generous support that comes from you guys. I really do appreciate it. It helps me do things like this. Everything that I really do make goes right back into the channel in some form or another. And I do not take it for granted. I'm grateful to have all of you here. Chris, fuck you! Just here for the giveaway. That's fine. You've been here at the other streams, fuck you. I know that if you could, you would have been here. So last chance, you got 15 seconds. Farq, if you do want to enter, exclamation mark gift. There you go. Streamlabs just covered it for me. Exclamation mark gift, and then you could enter. There's only 5 people that are entered, so you got a really good chance of winning it. Really good chance of winning it. But yeah, I want to say thank you to everybody. Lotus Esprit, Chris Harris, Holly, That Blue Number, Red Wolf Renegade, Lancelot as well. Gray Monad for being here, Arcane Realm, Timmer for stopping by and hanging out, King Styles, Gray Monad, I think I already said. I think I got everybody. So use that exclamation mark gift if you do want to enter. We're going to close out in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3/4, 1/2, 1/8, 1/764th. Closed. And congratulations to Arcane Realm. Thank you, Arcane, for always being a wonderful supporter of the show. Let me know. Just message me on Twitter or Discord what your preferred platform is, and then I will get that over to you promptly. But thank you again, everybody, for being here tonight. Thank you for making it a wonderful show. And as always, I appreciate every single one of you. You're the reason why this is fun. And honestly, I would not be here if it weren't for you guys. So, be sure to... sorry, Farq you. Be here for the next one. Maybe if you were on time. No, thank you so much for everybody being here. This is genuinely the highlight of my week, every single week. And I look forward to spending next week with you as well. It was a bit of a snower. I do have snow outside. A bit of a slower news week. But always something to talk about for each of you. So, Arcane, message me. We'll get that over to you. And for the rest of you, again, thank you. I love you all. And I still didn't put in the ending soon, or the ending screen. So there you go. So we're just going to sit here and look awkwardly and wave. And I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to zoom in nice and close. I'm going to make sure that you all see this handsome face. You see that? You see that? It's your handsome face. Oh! There we go. Anyway. Thank you all so much for stopping by. And as always, I hope to see you all next time. So long, everybody. We're going to stay here awkwardly for a bit again. That's how we end these streams. I think I'm just never going to put in an ending soon stream. We're just going to always end it this way. Maybe that'll be the thing. Okay, good night, everybody.